There's a tiny gland sitting low in your neck, and if it's not doing its job, it can quietly wreck your energy, your skin, your hair, your mood, and even your periods. Most women I talk to blame all of this on just getting older or just menopause. But so often, the real culprit is a gland the size of a butterfly called the thyroid. Millions of women are walking around with an underactive thyroid and nobody has told them. So today, I want to walk you through 15 signs your thyroid might be behind what you're feeling. Because once you know what to look for, you can stop guessing and start getting real answers. Here's why this matters so much for women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. Perimenopause and thyroid dysfunction love to overlap. Fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, mood swings, hair thinning, dry skin. Doctors and women themselves often wave it all away with the same two words: it's menopause. And sometimes it is. But sometimes your ovaries are only half the story, and your thyroid is the piece nobody's checked. The tricky part is that these two hormone systems talk to each other constantly. As estrogen shifts during perimenopause, it can actually change how your body manages thyroid hormone, which means some women only discover a thyroid problem once menopause has already started stirring the pot. So if you've been told to just ride out your symptoms, I want you to have this list in your back pocket, because it might be the missing clue your doctor needs. Let's start with something you can literally check right now in a mirror. Grab a glass of water. Your thyroid sits low on your neck, just above your collarbones. Take a sip, tilt your head back slightly, and swallow while watching that spot. The thyroid rises and falls when you swallow, which makes it easier to spot. Don't confuse it with the cartilage in the middle of your throat. That's higher up. If you can't see anything, don't worry. That's completely normal, especially if you're not especially slim or long-necked. But if you can clearly see a lump or swelling there, that's called a goiter, and it can mean your thyroid is working overtime trying to keep up. Here's the part I find fascinating, and honestly kind of beautiful once you understand it. Your brain is constantly checking how much thyroid hormone is floating around in your blood. When levels run low, your brain sends out a chemical messenger called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. Basically a memo telling your thyroid, make more and grow bigger while you're at it. But if your thyroid is damaged, or you're missing a nutrient like iodine, it doesn't matter how much TSH your brain sends, or how big your thyroid grows. It simply can't produce enough hormone. So your brain just keeps shouting louder, and the gland keeps swelling, sometimes to the point where it presses on your windpipe, and makes swallowing or breathing genuinely difficult. Now let's talk about your skin, because this is often where women first notice something is wrong, and it's often dismissed as menopausal dryness. Picture your skin like a brick wall. The bricks are your skin cells, and a layer of natural oil is the mortar holding everything together and sealing in moisture. When your thyroid slows down, oil production drops dramatically. Your skin gets rough, flaky, and dry, and eventually that wall starts to crack. Literally. Doctors call this eczema craquelé, and it creates a pattern people describe as crazy paving, like a cracked mosaic tile floor. Your skin is supposed to shed and rebuild itself constantly. You actually shed about 3.5 pounds of dead skin every single year. But hypothyroidism throws that entire renewal cycle off balance. The enzymes responsible for shedding old skin stop working properly, so dead cells and proteins pile up instead of clearing out. Sometimes this buildup becomes dramatic. There was a case of a woman in her early 40s whose hands and feet thickened noticeably over just a few months, caused by an excess buildup of keratin, the tough protein that gives your skin its structure. A little keratin buildup is normal and protective, like the calluses on a gardener's hands, but this was far beyond that, caused entirely by her underactive thyroid. And here's the encouraging part. After 9 months on thyroid hormone replacement, her skin returned completely to normal. That's the thing about thyroid problems. Once you catch them, they are often wonderfully reversible. Since keratin makes up the vast majority of your hair, and nails too, it's no surprise your thyroid has enormous influence over both. One woman in her early 40s lost the majority of her hair in just 4 months. To understand why, think about how hair actually grows. Each strand grows for a while, then enters a resting phase, and eventually sheds. Normally, only about 10% of your hair is resting at any moment. But low thyroid hormone pushes way too many follicles into that resting phase all at once, which is why the shedding can feel sudden and frightening, not gradual like typical aging hair thinning. That same woman turned out to have Hashimoto's disease, an autoimmune condition where your immune system slowly attacks your own thyroid. Once she started treatment, her recovery was remarkable. 5 years later, she had a full, thick head of hair again. Her nails told a similar story. Nail growth slowed and became disorganized, leaving her nails thicker but weaker, prone to splitting, sometimes developing deep vertical ridges. To be fair, some ridging is simply a normal part of aging, so that alone isn't a red flag. But another telltale nail sign is when the nail actually lifts away from the nail bed, letting air underneath and turning that section white, a condition doctors call onycholysis. And hair loss from thyroid trouble doesn't stop at your scalp. It can thin your eyebrows, eyelashes, and body hair too. There's a classic sign where the outer third of the eyebrow thins out almost completely. It's actually named after Queen Anne of Denmark, whose eyebrows reportedly looked exactly this way, though historians still debate whether she truly had thyroid disease. Puffiness under the eyes is another one women brush off as just tired or just hormonal aging. But thyroid-related swelling has a distinct feel. Press on it, and it's firm, almost doughy, not the soft puffiness of a bad night's sleep. That's because it isn't fluid at all. It's a buildup of a gel-like substance called muxedema, made largely of hyaluronic acid. Yes, the same ingredient used in lip fillers. In small amounts, this substance cushions your cells beautifully, but without enough thyroid hormone, it overproduces and accumulates, most noticeably around the eyes, hands, and feet, though it can show up almost anywhere. There was a case of a man whose tongue and calf muscles became visibly swollen from this same buildup before he was finally diagnosed, and when the tongue swells like that, it can literally block your airway while you sleep, contributing to obstructive sleep apnea, which raises your risk for heart disease, stroke, and even dementia over time. The relieving news: thyroid-related sleep apnea often resolves completely once the hormone imbalance is treated. This same gel-like swelling can also squeeze your nerves. Try this simple test right now. Press the backs of your hands together, wrists bent, for about 30 to 60 seconds. If your fingers start tingling, going numb, or aching, that's a positive sign for carpal tunnel syndrome. Your median nerve travels through a very narrow tunnel in your wrist, and any extra swelling there compresses it almost instantly. Some estimates suggest up to 5% of all carpal tunnel cases are actually caused by an underactive thyroid, which matters enormously because treating the thyroid can resolve the numbness entirely and spare women from unnecessary wrist surgery. Nerve compression can even affect your face. There was a case of a man who developed sudden drooping on one side of his face. His doctors quickly determined it wasn't a stroke. It was swelling from hypothyroidism, compressing his facial nerve. He recovered completely with treatment. But please hear this clearly. If you or anyone you love ever develops sudden facial drooping, treat it as a stroke emergency and get to the hospital immediately. Let the doctors rule out rarer causes later. Don't wait to see if it resolves on its own. Now, let's talk about something so many women in perimenopause and menopause already deal with: feeling cold all the time. Bundling up in a hoodie in July, sleeping in socks, shivering in a room everyone else finds comfortable. It's easy to write this off as hormonal aging, but it can actually be your metabolism running in low power mode because your thyroid isn't fueling it properly. In severe, untreated cases, this can spiral into a rare but life-threatening emergency called myxedema coma. One woman in her 50s arrived at the emergency room confused, with a dangerously slow heart rate, slow breathing, and a body temperature of just 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Her body was shutting down. Even with the best treatment, up to 60% of people with myxedema coma don't survive. The earlier it's caught, the better the odds. Thankfully, she beat those odds, and 1 year later, after treatment, she looked like an entirely different, healthier woman. Skin color can shift too. Ever notice someone with an orangey-yellow tint to their palms? That's called carotenemia, caused by a buildup of beta-carotene, the same pigment found in carrots and sweet potatoes. Normally your body converts this into vitamin A efficiently, but an underactive thyroid slows that conversion, letting the pigment build up in thick-skinned areas like your palms and soles. It's harmless on its own, and yes, even healthy people can develop a slight orange tint if they eat enormous amounts of carrot-rich foods. Your mood deserves real attention here too. Low thyroid hormone lowers feel-good brain chemicals like serotonin and dopamine, and dampens activity in brain regions tied to memory, motivation, and emotional balance. This is exactly why so many women get told they're just depressed or just going through menopause, when really, their thyroid has never been checked. Any proper depression workup should always include thyroid blood work. Full stop. For women specifically, your cycle can be an early clue too. Low thyroid hormone can throw off the balance between estrogen and progesterone, thickening the uterine lining and leading to heavier, longer, or more irregular periods. This is exactly why so many women in perimenopause get confused about what's actually happening to their bodies. Is this erratic, heavy bleeding just the natural chaos of perimenopause, or is an underactive thyroid quietly making it worse? The honest answer is that it can be both at once, tangled together, which is precisely why a thyroid panel belongs on the same lab request form as your hormone panel, not treated as an afterthought. And if you're pregnant or hoping to be, thyroid health matters even more. It plays a critical role in your baby's development, which is a topic serious enough to deserve its own deep dive. I also want to gently say this: if you've been chasing symptom after symptom for months or years, trying new supplements, cutting out sugar, doubling down on exercise, blaming stress, blaming aging, blaming everything except the one gland that regulates practically every system in your body, please don't feel foolish. This happens to so many women, and it's not because you weren't paying attention. It's because these symptoms are sneaky, they build slowly, and our culture has trained us to expect our bodies to simply slow down once we hit midlife, as if fatigue and hair loss and brain fog are just the toll we pay for getting older. They're not always that. Sometimes they're your body waving a flag, asking to be checked properly. Beyond all these distinct signs, so much of hypothyroidism hides behind maddeningly vague, easy-to-dismiss symptoms: constant fatigue, constipation, stubborn weight gain. Because these symptoms are so common and so easily blamed on stress, aging, or menopause, they often get overlooked for years. So what actually causes this? Historically, iodine deficiency was the leading cause, which is exactly why iodine was added to table salt back in the 1920s. But iodine deficiency is quietly creeping back today, thanks to restrictive diets and the popularity of non-iodized specialty salts. In places where iodine isn't the issue, the most common cause is Hashimoto's disease, an autoimmune condition that disproportionately affects women. The genuinely good news in all of this, the part I really want you to hold on to: diagnosis is simple: a blood test measuring your TSH level, confirmed by checking your actual thyroid hormones, T4 and T3, and treatment is remarkably effective. A medication called levothyroxine replaces what your thyroid isn't making, with your doctor adjusting the dose until your TSH settles back into a healthy range, meaning your brain is finally satisfied with how much hormone is circulating. If any of this sounds familiar, please don't just accept it as getting older or menopause doing its thing. Ask your doctor for a thyroid panel. It's one simple blood draw that could explain years of symptoms and open the door to feeling like yourself again. I know how exhausting it can feel to advocate for your own health, especially when you've already been dismissed once or twice, or told your labs are normal, when you clearly don't feel normal. But you know your body better than anyone sitting across from you in a 15-minute appointment. If your gut tells you something deeper is going on, trust that instinct enough to ask for the full picture. TSH, free T4, free T3, and thyroid antibodies if Hashimoto's is a possibility. You deserve real answers, not just reassurance that everything looks fine on paper. And if you walk away from this video with just one thing, let it be this: your hormones are not working against you, and you are not imagining your symptoms. Whether it's your thyroid, your ovaries, or both working in tandem, your body is trying to tell you something, and it's absolutely worth listening to. Getting the right diagnosis isn't about chasing a label. It's about getting your energy back, your hair back, your clear thinking back, and honestly, getting yourself back. If this video helped connect some dots for you, I'd love for you to share it with another woman who might be quietly struggling with the exact same symptoms and blaming herself for it. And if you want to go deeper into how your hormones interact during perimenopause and menopause, stick around, because that's exactly what we're covering next. Take care of yourself, listen to your body, and I'll see you in the next one.